I wish something would happen.
This craving for vulgar sensation alarms me.
6 years ago, I'd have sworn that with enough money to buy most of the things I want, and with you for a husband, life would have been one grand, sweet song, as the poet puts it.
Is it me or the money that pulls on you?
Pulls isn't the exact word. I'm just used to my blessings, that's all.
Shall I neglect you a little? Take other women out to nightclubs, that sort of thing?
Oh, no use. If you did, I'd only meet you there with other men.
What's the matter with you, darling?
Oh, think of the times we had once, Tommy. You should never have left the Secret Service. Think how thrilling it would be if there was a mad rapping at the door and in staggered a dead man.
If he was dead, he couldn't stagger.
Daily Leader.
I beg your pardon?
The paper you want, boss.
Oh, yes, of course.
I just made it.
Made what?
A midday edition, Mrs. B. It was the last one.
Thank you, Albert. Oh, and could we have less of the dying gangster and more of the perfect English butler, do you think?
Right, old Guff.
I wish Albert wouldn't go to the cinema so often.
This Rudolph Valentino is particularly forgettable.
Well, starting the crossword, are you? We were having a conversation. Oh, where has your spirit of adventure gone? You're getting fat. And comfortable.
I am not.
Sleek and prosperous and comfortable. You see, it's very dangerous to have everything you want. I suppose there are always hats.
But you've got about 40 hats already, and they all look the same.
They're not really the same. There are nuances in them. I saw a rather nice one in Violet's yesterday.
Tuppence, if you've got nothing better to do than keep on buying hats...
Oh, well, that's just it. If I had something better to do. Oh, Tommy, I wish something exciting would happen.
Come in.
Detective Inspector Marriott of Scotland Yard.
Thank you, Albert.
Good afternoon, Inspector.
Well, it's good to see you both. How's life in general, Mrs. Beresford?
In general, satisfactory. In particular, dull.
Haven't you told her?
I was just about to when you came in.
Told her what?
Well, it's all set, if you want to go ahead.
Told her what?
Read that.
International Detective Agency, Theodore Blunt, manager. Private inquiries, large staff of confidential and highly skilled inquiry agents, utmost discretion, consultations free. 28 Haleham Street.
It's a detective agency.
Obviously. Though I can't imagine of what interest it could be to you, unless, of course, you're thinking of having me followed.
Too many men do that already, my sweet. No, the point is, the agency has been on its last legs for some time.
And it can be acquired for a mere song. Under new management, naturally.
What about Mr. Theodore Blunt?
Mr. Blunt, I'm afraid, is being detained at His Majesty's expense. And he won't tell us half of what we'd like to know.
I see. At least I think I see.
I thought I might have a shot at running it. On a 6-month trial. Inspector Marriott has very kindly been arranging the necessary license and so on.
Which I'm happy to say has now come through. The agency is all yours.
And you knew about this all the time?
Only since I first thought of it. Mystery and romance, remember?
Tommy, darling. Oh, I take it all back. You're not at all dull, comfortable and sleek.
And certainly not fat.
Only a little.
There is just one thing. The agency is still in the name of Blunt. However, that could be an advantage.
In case I don't make a go of it, you mean?
Oh, not only that. I fancy that the somewhat shady Mr. Blunt and his assistant might have a little more freedom of action, shall we say, than the altogether more proper and decorous Mr. and Mrs. Beresford.
Well, this is it. Here we are. This is where you'll hang out, Albert. Reception.
Just a ticket, Mr. B.
Ah, now, there's a buzzer under here. When a client comes in, buzz me a warning. But don't let him in until I buzz you back. Right?
Right, Chief.
This way to the inner sanctum. Bring the cases, Albert.
It has scope.
Just what I thought. Over here by the shelves.
What you got in these, Gov? Dead bodies?
Not exactly the Ritz.
Oh, no, this is just for the secretarial staff.
Who's that?
You, my sweet.
What do you want me to do now, Gov?
Whatever the well-trained office boys should do.
Well, there's a gas ring. Shall I make a cup of tea?
Good wheeze, Albert.
We've been here for days now, and absolutely no one's come to see us except husbands who want their wives shadowed and wives who want their husbands shadowed.
Sometimes I think the entire population is composed of middle-aged wives whose husbands go away at weekends.
Perhaps we should put that in the advertisement. No divorce work.
I second that.
More tea.
Not for me. I'm a wash. I say, you've transformed this place.
Yes, it is a little more like home.
What on earth is that?
You like it? It's my disguise tree.
Your what?
What's the first thing you notice about a woman?
Well,
Her hat, of course. Now, I may come in here in a little Bond Street number, but that wouldn't do if I had to go somewhere with you as your secretary, Miss Robinson, say.
quite.
So... Miss Robinson. Like it?
Brilliant. Oh, Tuppence. I adore you.
Now here we are, bursting with talent and absolutely no chance to use it. But I don't intend to be beaten. To begin with, I don't think that ad in the paper's very tempting, do you?
You think we should change it?
Well, you said it yourself. We're brilliant. Brilliant. So how about International Detective Agency? Blunt's Brilliant Detective Satisfaction. No. Results guaranteed.
Not bad. Not bad at all. When shall we put it in the paper?
Straight away.
Done. I hope you're right about this, Tuppence. Results guaranteed. That's a fairly tall order.
Oh, yes, I know it's easy in detective stories because once they've worked out the solution, they can arrange the clues. I wonder now. I'm beginning to have an idea. Hasn't quite come to me yet, but it's on its way.
Well, leave the door open. It might pop in. I'll get Alberts to go round to the newspapers with this right away.
Oh, no need. I can take it. It's on my way.
Not another hat.
It's an extremely nice one. It should be. At the price.
Hello, International Detective Agency. An appointment at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, sir? Yes. I believe Mr. Blunt can just fit you in. Might I inquire the nature of your business, sir? To clean the windows. Right, mate, any time. Come in.
I say, is this the Blunt's International Detective Agency?
That is, sir.
Oh, I know. Let me see. Get to work. Start typing.
You want to speak to Mr. Blunt himself, sir?
Yes, that was the idea. Can it be done?
Well, we're pretty busy at the moment.
So I see.
You haven't an appointment, I suppose?
No, afraid not. Should I have?
Oh, it's always wise to ring up first, sir.
Oh, yes, well, I dare say I could call back another day.
You're in that, sir. The boss is free now.
Oh, thank you.
Kindly step this way, will you, sir? Gentleman to see you, sir.
Ah, good day.
Good day.
Do come in. Now then, you wish to consult us.
Yes, I want you to find someone who's missing.
May I know a little more?
It's rather difficult. Frightfully delicate and all that. A young lady.
I see. Did she disappear of her own free will, or do you suspect she's been abducted?
Well, I don't know. You see, I don't know anything.
Well, can we start by you giving me your name?
My name? Yes, my name's Smith.
Your real name, please.
Oh, I say. I saw through that little, yes, St. Vincent. Lawrence St. Vincent.
It's curious how few people there are whose real name is Smith.
Oh.
Could I have a description of this young lady?
Yes, well, she's awfully pretty.
Pretty.
An absolute topper.
Topper. Just a moment. Yes? The Prime Minister. I see. Righto. If you'll excuse me a moment, I have an urgent call.
Naturally, yes.
Are you listening?
Of course I was.
Why did you interrupt? I think he's the real thing.
He's more than that. Look. Who's who?
St. Vincent Lawrence, 28, nephew and heir of the Earl of Cheriton.
You see, if we pull this off, we'll get publicity in all the right places.
Yes. Well, don't keep interrupting.
So sorry to have kept you. May I introduce my confidential secretary, Miss Robinson?
How do you do?
How do you do?
Was there something, Miss Robinson?
You asked me to come in and take down the facts of the case for you. As you had to go at once to Downing Street via Scotland Yard.
Oh, I say.
Yes. Well, I think the Prime Minister would be prepared to wait a little, don't you?
Oh, I don't think so, Mr. Blunt. Most urgent, he said. And I'm sure Mr. St. Vincent won't mind talking to me.
Oh, no. No, not at all.
Very well. Thank you, Miss Robinson. I apologize, but I leave you in capable hands.
I'm sure.
A lady has disappeared, I understand. A young lady.
Oh, yes. Look here, Miss Robinson, you really must do something. I wouldn't have anything happen to her for the world.
You can depend on Mr. Blunt. Now, please, may I have her name and tell me all about her?
Her name's Janet.
Second name?
I don't know. You see, she works in a hat shop, Madame Violette's in Brook Street. I went round there yesterday and waited for her to come out. But then I found she'd not been at work that day at all.
Did she send a message?
None. Oh, Madame was furious. I went round to Janet's place. But she hadn't come home the night before. Nobody seemed to know where she was. I was simply frantic, I can tell you. I even thought of going to the police.
Did you?
No.
And what made you come here?
Well, that's the funny part. She pointed out your advertisement to me herself only the other day.
May I have a full description?
Yes, well, she's got the most marvelous hair. Sort of golden, but deeper. It's like a sunset. That's it, a sunset.
Red hair. Height?
Tallish. And she has eyes.
Really?
Blue eyes. Very, very blue eyes. And a sort of decided manner.
Am I to understand that you're engaged to this lady?
Oh, no. I mean, not exactly. I never said anything. But after this, I can tell you, I mean to ask her to marry me as soon as ever I see her. If I ever do see her again.
It sounds to me as though you need our special 24-hour service.
What's that?
It's double fees, but we put all our available staff onto it. If the lady's alive, Mr. St. Vincent, we should be able to tell you where she is by this time tomorrow.
I don't know what to say. You must have the most marvelous staff.
Yes, we have. So, 2 o'clock tomorrow, and we should have some news for you.
Is that a fact? I can't thank you enough.
Not at all. Good day.
Will you thank Mr. Blunt for me?
What have you done?
Done?
Have you gone stark staring mad? Our special service. Do you realize we've guaranteed him results by this time tomorrow?
I thought it sounded rather good. Perhaps we should put it in our advertisement.
You must have taken leave of your senses.
Don't worry. Leave it to Mother. Mother knows best. Yes, I choose my baby myself, and we may be
It's a filthy night.
Oh, you are in the state.
Thanks to you. Oh, Elvis, try and dry these out, will you? Waterlogged.
What have you been doing?
Looking for that blasted girl. Going round the hospitals with her description.
Any luck?
Not a sausage.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're back. Any later and dinner would have been ruined.
No dinner for me tonight.
Why on earth not?
Because of you and your 24-hour service. If we don't deliver the goods, young St. Vincent is going to tell everyone we let him down.
Well, you'll have a drink at least.
No, thank you. I only came back to change my socks. I've a dozen hospitals to get round yet.
Didn't I tell you to leave it to me?
That's very kind of you, Tuppence, but even you can't find that wretched girl single-handed before 2 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I have.
What do you mean?
Very simple.
Where is she?
In the spell. As a matter of fact, I've invited her to stay for a couple of days.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
She's an old friend of mine. And actually, she spent last night in a hotel, then came round here this morning before we went to the office.
You mean she's been here all day? All the time I've been hunting for her? She was never missing in the first place. You set up the whole thing between you.
Well, I only bumped into her recently. And she told me about young St. Vincent pursuing her, so I got her to rub the advertisement into him and then disappear.
I don't believe it.
It's wonderful publicity for Blunt's brilliant detectives and the necessary shout to get that young idiot to propose.
So not only do you bamboozle our client, our first client, but you trap the poor blighter into marriage.
Oh, stuff. You can tell at a glance what his family needs. Some good red blood in it. Hello. Ah, Tommy. This is my old pal of my nursing days, Janet Smith.
Smith? Is that your real name?
Yes, it is. Why?
Oh, just wondered.
Tommy doesn't want his drink, Janet. Why didn't you have it?
Thanks, Tuppence.
It's the most immoral thing I've ever heard. How do you do?
It'll be the making of him, won't it, Janet?
It certainly will. You see, strange as it may seem to you, I do love the silly idiot.
She'll get him to cut down on cocktails and nightclubs and lead a good, healthy life.
You see, for months he's been driving me frantic trying to nerve himself up to propose. I couldn't stand it any longer.
Blunt's brilliant detectives have not only played Sherlock Holmes, but Cupid. Oh, so cheer up, Tommy. Hmm? And let's all drink to the International Detective Agency.
Shh, 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 Sherlock. A client.
Oh.
Female. Dark. Mid-20s. Clothes cheap but striking. Looks worried.
Better have her in.
Right. Get to work. Start typing. Oh, very well. You can be doing shorthand notes.
How?
Just do squiggles.
Lady to see you, Mr. Blunt.
Ah, good morning. Do take a seat. My confidential secretary, Miss Robinson. Now then, you are in need of our services, Miss,
Kingston Bruce.
Yes. You must have found travelling in a bus rather crowded at this time of day.
I came in a taxi.
Oh?
Oh, you mean this? I picked it up outside. A small neighbor of ours collects them.
Really?
We live in Wimbledon. Last night, a lady who's staying with us lost a pink pearl, apparently of some considerable value. Mr. St. Vincent was also dining with us.
Mr. St. Vincent?
During dinner, he'd happened to mention your firm. This morning, my mother sent me along here to ask if you could look into the matter for us.
I see. But you haven't called in the police.
It would be idiotic to call them in and find the stupid thing had rolled under the fireplace or something.
Yes. So you suspect it may only be mislaid?
People make such a fuss about things.
Well, of course, I am extremely busy at the moment.
I shan't trouble you any more. I quite understand.
And nevertheless, I think I could manage a run down to Wimbledon. Could you give me the address?
The Laurels, Edgeworth Road. We'll expect you then. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Ah. What an odd girl.
Yes.
I couldn't quite make her out.
Makes you wonder if she took the thing herself.
Well, here we are.
I'd say we'll find a house full of snobs. The father, if there is a father, bound to have a military title. The daughter falls in with their way of life, but despises herself in doing so.
You're an incurable romantic. Will you bring the camera, please, darling?
Is that absolutely necessary?
Oh, yes. I shall photograph footprints and enlarge negatives and all that sort of thing.
And if you don't mind, I think I'll stop being your secretary and become your assistant.
Do you think you'll be able to carry it off?
Mr. Blunt, isn't it? I'm Kingston Bruce. Colonel Kingston Bruce.
How do you do, Colonel? This is Miss Robinson.
Mr. Blunt's assistant.
Ah. Well, thank you, Gladys. Do sit down. This is a most distressing business. Most distressing.
Yes, it must be, Colonel. I suppose you are certain that an actual crime was committed?
No doubt of it, sir. Unfortunately.
May we see where it happened?
Why, it was here, Miss,
Robinson.
in this very room.
Your daughter only gave us the barest details, Colonel. Could you tell us exactly what happened?
Certainly, Mr. Blunt. The fact is, at the present moment, we have a number of people staying here. The best sort. A house party, really. Well, last night, after dinner, we all returned to the drawing room. There was an old and very dear friend of ours, Lady Laura Barton, daughter of the late Earl of Carrow. I remember she felt a chill in the room. She's here with her maid, Elise. She's French. Well, part maid, part companion, really. Of course, my dear wife was there, and our daughter, Beatrice. She's very attached to young St. Vincent. And, of course, there were two American friends of mine. Well, friends of friends, actually. Hamilton Betts, the financier, and his wife, Phyllis. A charming lady. A very fine meal, my dear.
Yes, Margaret. Really delightful.
Oh, thank you, Lady Laura. Charles, Mr. Betts was wondering if we might play some bridge.
Wants his revenge, does he?
Now then, Colonel, I admit you and Beatrice had the cards last night, but let's see who they smile on this evening. And there's just one problem. There aren't enough of us for 2 fours.
Oh, I don't mind skipping it. I can always sit out with Lawrence and talk about this yacht he's thinking of buying.
Sorry, Phil, you're the only one here who understands my bidding.
I trust you'll be my partner, Lady Laura.
No, thank you, Colonel. I have a slight headache this evening.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Lady Laura.
It's nothing to worry about. I'd just as soon watch, if you don't mind.
Well, if you're quite sure. Beatrice?
No, I don't want to play.
Oh, no use looking at me, Colonel. I've not got enough of the old grey matter for 4 spades and 3 trumps and all that. Never could follow it, frankly.
It appears you'll have to be my partner, my dear.
Oh, must I?
Just do your best.
Now that's the style.
Thank you, Gladys. Would you set up the card table, please? Yes. And we settle down to a normal, pleasant evening.
Where do the Bettses fit in, Colonel?
Well, just between ourselves. I'm hoping he'll put some money into a firm whose board I'm on. I invited them because Lady Laura is staying. It's important to show one mixes with the right people.
Quite.
And what about the pearl?
Yes. It was strange how that happened, how it all began. We were all settling down. Young St. Vincent had very kindly offered to look after the drinks.
Oh, you've no idea what a pleasure it is to be in a country where you can sit down with friends for a drink without wondering if you'll be raided by the police.
Are you thinking of coming to the States at all, Lawrence?
Oh, I'd love to, but I think I'll wait till you've got rid of Prohibition.
Oh,
Something wrong?
I think the catch on this thing must have gone.
I told you not to keep fiddling with it. Now I'll have to get it fixed.
We'll take it to a jeweler's in the morning.
I want it done right. Pearls like that don't grow on trees, you know.
It's so pretty.
Just a little thing I got Phyllis for our anniversary.
The game turned out to be very enjoyable. Quite tense at times. We played for about 2 hours, 2.5.
Did anyone leave the room in that time?
No, but there was another arrival.
Oh? Who was that?
A Mr. Rennie. He is an acquaintance of my daughter Beatrice. He is a teacher at a local college, but not the sort of chap I care for. A most pestilential fellow. An arrant radical. It was quite wrong, of course, of Beatrice to invite him to call in, especially with young St. Vincent here. Most unfortunate.
Beatrice tells me you're having a yacht built.
Yes, nifty little thing. Nicholson. She'll be able to tool over to Boulogne in her, perhaps even get in a spot of racing.
Will you sail her yourself?
No, of course not. She'll have a crew for that sort of thing.
Naturally. It always amazes me how the idle class think up the most expensive ways to remain idle.
Do I gather you don't approve, Mr. Rennie?
I do not.
Oh, dear, why not?
It may have escaped your notice that there are over 1 million unemployed, thousands of families on the breadline, living in squalor, denied even the opportunity to work. In these economic conditions, boat trips to France and yacht racing seem to me the height of immorality.
Ah, but I don't agree.
No?
No. What about the people who are building her? The ones who will sail her and service her? I'm not a shipwright, a sailor, or a cook. Without me, they'd all be unemployed, too.
That puts the United States one up, Colonel. But I'll give you your chance at another rubber.
Would you mind, Lady Laura?
Not at all. I'm enjoying watching.
Matter of fact, I'm hoping the yacht will be ready in time for my honeymoon.
Honeymoon?
Yes, of course, I haven't actually asked her yet, but...
Who are you hoping to marry?
Oh, not anybody you'd know. Nor you, Beatrice. You'd like her, though. She's rather your type. Perhaps, Mr. Rennie, you and Beatrice would like to come for a cruise with us one day, if it's not against your principle.
We finished the rubber, which luckily made us all square. Rennie had left some time before. St. Vincent said good night shortly after, and we all went to bed.
And what about the pearl?
It was left lying where it was. We'd all simply forgotten about it.
When was it found to be missing then, Colonel?
When Gladys, the parlour maid, came in to tidy up. The necklace and the setting were still lying on the table. But the pearl had gone. She came and told me at once.
And what happened next?
Well, we had a good look around and then decided to search again in the morning.
And what was the Betts's attitude towards all this?
Well, as you would expect, she was very upset. He wanted me to call the police.
But you dissuaded him.
To avoid publicity. My wife and daughter backed me up. Then we remembered young St. Vincent talking about your firm and your 24-hour special service.
Yes, well, I suppose there's no reason to suspect the parlour maid, Colonel?
Gladys, oh, she's been with us for years. Oh. On the other hand, temptation, one never knows.
You said there was a certain amount of tension over the bridge game, Colonel.
Yes. Yes, a redoubled no trump hand, I remember. And also a rather painful argument when my dear wife had the misfortune to revoke.
Really?
Ah, I see what you mean. You think it would have been possible for him to wrench off the pearl while we were absorbed in the game?
Who exactly do you mean by him, Colonel?
Why, Rennie, of course. He's an unprincipled fellow. I don't mind telling you, I don't trust him an inch.
No, because you can't say.
You can't deny it, Mother. She got out of the car and a silver teaspoon fell out of her mouth.
This is Mr. Blunt, my dear. And his assistant, Miss...
Robinson.
How do you do, Mr. Blunt? I hope you'll be able to clear up this dreadful case quickly.
I shall certainly try, madam.
Poor Lady Laura, she's most distressed.
Calm yourself, my dear. Mr. Blunt has everything in hand.
I'm afraid I will have to question everyone.
You see?
For a start, has anyone left the house today?
Absolutely not. I haven't allowed anyone to leave.
Except your daughter.
Except me.
But Beatrice volunteered to go and lay the case before you.
Well, what now, Mr. Blunt?
Well,
You were going to take some photographs, weren't you, sir?
Oh, yes, of course. If you'll excuse me, I'll just go and fetch my special camera.
What do you think?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Did you get that about the daughter, Beatrice?
Yes. Now, she said her mother had asked her to come to see us. But now it appears it was her own idea.
Get out of the house with the pearl?
Could be. And there was another thing that interested me.
Who was it with a silver teaspoon in her muff?
He loves the Russians and the Germans. What else can you expect?
He never touched it. I was watching him all the time. He couldn't possibly have taken it.
Beatrice!
I gather you're the private inquiry agent.
I am. And you are Mr. Betts.
Hamilton Betts. I'm told you hustle things through.
Hustle is my middle name, Mr. Betts.
Well, it better be. Or I'm sending for the police, whatever Colonel Bruce says.
May I ask you a few questions about this pearl?
What do you want to know?
For example, was it insured?
Unfortunately, it was not. I only bought it on this trip, so now it's Colonel Bruce's problem.
Huh.
Well, the theft, or whatever you want to call it, took place on his property, so it's his responsibility. I don't intend to be out of pocket.
May I ask how much a single pearl is worth?
One like that, well, I bought it in Amsterdam, paid in dollars in your currency. At a conservative estimate, I'd guess between, £18,000 to £20,000.
I cannot imagine what this will achieve.
A little invention of my own, Colonel. In appearance, you see, it is just like an ordinary camera.
What do you mean it photographs fingerprints and stuff like that?
If the angle of light and refraction and things are calculated correctly.
Remarkable.
Well, I thought we were way ahead of you in the States, but this is really amazing.
Nothing at all, really.
So, here you all are.
Aren't you dressed yet, honey?
I was too upset to. Who is this?
The private eye, Mr. Blunt. This is Phyllis, my wife.
How do you do, Mr. Blunt?
Mrs. Betts?
Are you, getting anywhere?
Slowly but surely.
So what's the position?
Well, the position amounts to this. Now, either the pearl is still in the house, or it is not still in the house.
Quite so.
Now, if it is not in the house, it may be anywhere. But if it is still in the house, it most probably is concealed somewhere.
And a search must be made, just what I keep saying.
Very well. I give you carte blanche, Mr. Blunt. Search the house from attic to cellar.
Oh, but Charles, the servants, I'm sure they'll leave.
Oh, don't worry, Mrs. Bruce. We'll search their quarters last. The thief is sure to have hidden the pearl in the most unlikely place.
I seem to have read something of the kind.
Well, what sort of place?
Well, the most unlikely place would be Mrs. Betts' apartment.
Wouldn't that be just too cute? Well, what are we waiting for? Come and search.
I'd better come with you.
Don't interfere with the expert, Hammy. Mr. Blunt knows what he's doing.
Aren't you going to take your camera?
Oh, yes. I was just coming back for it.
How long have you been with Lady Laura, Elise?
Several years now. I know what you're thinking. I know what they're saying, all these stories.
Stories?
I am very fond of her. She is very kind. It's so unfair.
What is?
Elle est une veuve. She is a widow, you know. Her husband was killed in the war. Perhaps that is why. Perhaps something happened to her then.
What sort of thing?
She cannot help it. She does not mean to do it, believe me. When we go to places, stay with people. Things are lost, disparu. Not always valuable things, you understand?
The silver teaspoon.
You heard about that?
Yes. Yes, what was that exactly?
The last time we stayed here, we had been to tea with some friends of Colonel and Madame Bruce. They had a set of antique silver spoons. Lady Laura carried her firm off. Just as we arrived home, one of the silver spoons fell out of it. I took it back for her, explained that it must have got there by accident, but I don't think they believed me.
You did what you could.
Oh, I should not have told you. Oh, la pauvre. Please, believe me. This time it is different. Milady could not have taken the pearl.
This is all that was left of it.
Oh, it must have been very upsetting.
Plenty more pearls in the sea.
Yeah.
Worried Hammy more than it did me.
Well, it cost a lot.
Well, he makes a lot. That's all he ever really thinks about, making more. He's hardly ever at home. You can't think how lonesome I get.
Yes, I dare say. Tell me, how big was the pearl, Mrs. Betts? And what colour was it?
About a match for these drapes. Ooh, are you going to take a picture?
If you'd step aside, Mrs. Betts.
Phyllis.
If you'd step aside, Phyllis.
Where to?
Just aside.
Show me.
Well...
Oh, you're so tall, Mr. Blunt. Tell me, just how blunt are you, Mr. Blunt? Come in.
Excuse me.
This is my assistant, Miss Robinson.
Oh, I was just wondering if you needed any help.
He might just do at that, honey. Well, if you're going to search, go right ahead. You won't need me.
Did I interrupt something?
Yes, thank heavens.
Well, are we really going to search the room?
Well, we've got to do something to bluff it out. You and your 24-hour special service. That pearl could be anywhere.
Haven't you found out anything?
Only that Colonel Bruce is short of money, but he's putting a brave face on it. How about you?
Oh, one or two things.
Such as?
Well, it couldn't have been the cook, because she leaves at 9 o'clock. Now, the parlour maid Gladys, she had the opportunity.
And the motive?
Well, she gets all of 18 shillings a week for working here, and she's the sole support of her aged mother.
Ah.
But I don't think she did it. Now, the daughter Beatrice, she's desperate to leave home, but without enough money to set up on her own, there's nothing she can do.
Aha.
And the most interesting thing of all... oh, Lady Laura's the kleptomaniac.
Oh, the teaspoon.
The teaspoon. She's always staying with people. Poor old dear hasn't a bean. So she's always accepting invitations from people to whom a title still means something. 5 or 6 distinct thefts have occurred while she's been staying at various houses. Oh, Elise. This is Elise, Mr. Blunt.
Oh, yes, of course. How do you do?
Monsieur,
Are you busy?
I was just cleaning Milady's bath, monsieur.
Ah, then you won't mind if we just have a little look round the room.
It's all right, Elise. All the rooms are to be searched.
Oh, I've left the water running.
What's the matter?
It must have stopped. Voilà, c'est curieux, n'est-ce pas?
I wonder why it's stuck.
C'est fait.
Good. Would you give Miss Robinson a hand? Now, I just want one photograph of the dressing table. Mademoiselle Elise, would you be so kind as to hold back the curtain? Just loop it back. There.
Is that all, monsieur?
Ah, yes, thank you. Oh, would you? Thanks. Ah, right. I've just had a thought. It would be most unfortunate if Lady Laura were to find us here. Would you be so kind as to keep an eye on the stairs and warn us if she's coming?
Certainly, monsieur.
Thanks.
What are you up to?
Can you hang on here for a bit? Try and get an interview with Lady Laura, but don't alarm her. You suspect the parlour maid or something. But whatever you do, don't let her leave the house. Right.
But, Tommy! Tommy, where are you going?
Back to town. Sorry, darling, haven't got time to explain.
Listen, there's something I forgot to tell you about the daughter, Beatrice.
Oh?
Well, she left here at 9:30 this morning, so it took her 2.5 hours to get to the office. Well, that's not possible.
No.
So, where did she go before she came to see us?
Yes, well, that's very interesting. Follow up any clue you like, darling, but don't let Lady Laura leave the house. Back in it, dear.
Looking for something?
Mr. Rene, isn't it?
How do you know me?
Just a hunch. Can I help you?
I want to speak to Beatrice.
In a moment. You know I'm from the International Detective Agency.
I guessed as much.
Because Beatrice told you we would be here. When she came to see you this morning? Yes. I suspected it was you that she'd come to see. Why do you think Miss Bruce took the pearl? Believe me, Mr. Rene, getting the pearl back is all we're interested in.
Do forgive me. I have to take different pills every few hours. It's very tedious.
Do you have everything you want, milady?
Yes, thank you, Elise. You may leave us.
Very good, milady.
She seems very kind.
Yes. A dear girl. Oh, I'm growing forgetful. Please sit down, Miss Robinson.
Thank you.
How is your inquiry progressing?
Quite well, thank you, Lady Laura.
Do you think I could have done it? Because, you see, I know that I could have.
Oh, Lady Laura,
Please, this is very difficult for me. For a long while now, I've not been quite myself. Lately, it's grown worse. Sometimes I take things you must realize.
Yes.
No doubt you've already heard.
Yes.
Yes. It's shameful. Shameful. I have to rely on the kindness of friends, of Elise. And I do not know when these things have happened, nor when they will happen. I do not even have a sense of guilt, because I'm unaware of them.
I understand.
But never before has it been anything so valuable.
It's not certain, Your Ladyship, that you had anything to do with this.
You are kind, my dear. You have searched my room?
Yes. But we found nothing.
It will turn up somewhere. And when it does, if you are certain that it was me, I want you to promise me that you will come and tell me yourself. And then I shall know what to do.
Hello, darling.
They're all in here.
No time for that.
Having tea.
Come on.
Oh, so you think it was Lady Laura after all? Oh, dear, I was rather hoping it wouldn't be. Still, I've lots to tell you about Beatrice Kingston Bruce and her boyfriend. Inspector Marriott.
Good day, ma'am. I understand you've been having quite a time. Ah, there you are.
Will someone kindly tell me what's going on?
She went quietly. She's an old hand and she knows when the game's up. What about the pearl?
Well, I rather fancy we'll find it in here.
An old trick, Mrs. Beresford. Cut a bar of soap in half, scoop out a hiding place, clap it together again, and smooth the join over with hot water. If I might. Very smart piece of work on your part, Mr. Beresford.
But... There's Lady Laura, and Beatrice, and Gladys.
Oh, didn't I tell you? It was Elise.
My dear sir, I can't thank you enough.
I've really got to hand it to you, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bates.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mrs. Bruce.
Don't leave me out. Thank you.
Mrs. Bates.
I don't know how to thank you, Mr. Blunt. I feel as if a great cloud has been lifted. Now I can live the rest of my life without feeling ashamed.
Thank you, Lady Laura. Thank you all.
Miss Robinson, I wanted to thank you. Although I know you suspected me all the time.
You were terrified that Rennie had taken the pearl. He was terrified that you had, so it meant it couldn't have been either of you. But he'll tell you himself.
All's well that ends well, eh? No, my fancy.
Not until you tell me how you knew it was Elise.
Well, it was when she tried to open the bathroom door. I tried to turn a handle with soap on my hands myself. Can't be done, your hands slip. Then she picked up a towel.
Wiped the soap off the handle and opened the door herself.
Exactly. It occurred to me that if you were a professional thief, it would be quite useful to be the maid of a lady suspected of kleptomania.
Oh, dear. Poor Lady Laura, suspected of taking all those things.
If you remember, I took a photograph of Elise by the window, induced her to hold a glass slide for me, and toddled off to dear old Scotland Yard.
They developed her photograph and checked her fingerprints on the glass slide.
Revealing Elise to be a long-lost friend.
Why didn't you tell me in the first place?
Because, in the first place, I suspected Elise was listening outside the door. And in the second, you and your friend Janet Smith put one over on me last time. This makes us all square.